Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's bright and early. Daily discipline. Mind, body, and soul. This is how we get through. Sunday, let's jump into our study group for warriors. For my hardcore heads, this is just some of the stuff that I studied over the week. Set your mood right. I got some music going, some incense burning. I got some tea brewing. God doesn't chase people down and force his forgiveness upon them. He's not forcing his forgiveness on fools. If you don't want it, you don't get it. You have to ask for forgiveness. You wonder, why hasn't God forgiven you? You haven't forgiven yourself. Why would God forgive you if you refuse to even forgive yourself? He's not going to force it on you. He's not going to come slap you around and yell at you and say, I forgive you, snap out of this. He's not going to chase you down yelling through the streets, hey, where are you? Driving around town like he's looking for a lost dog. No, you have to come to him and ask for forgiveness. You got to humble up and repent. But it works. A lot of people are their own worst enemy with this. They just simply can't forgive themselves for what they've done. And that's a problem. You've sent yourself to hell. If you don't know what you're doing, stop being so hard-headed or upset and be open to other ideas. The light at the end of the tunnel is useless as a guide if you're blind and deaf and dumb to it. Talked about that yesterday, so let's not go over that again. We can mention this though. Some of you can't relate, but maybe one or two of you can. Let's talk about a life of endless failure. Maybe you've gone from one failure to the next your whole life. Failed at everything. You're an expert. You're like Michael Jordan, but with failure. You're really good at failing. Olympic level failure. I can relate to that. And sometimes it does feel that way, that everything I've ever tried, everything that I will try, fails. Everything I touch goes to shit. Like King Midas, everything he touched turns to gold. I felt like everything I touch, everything I do just turns to crap. What makes a life of endless failure worthwhile? Why don't you kill yourself? I'm not suggesting that you do, but I'm just wondering, what keeps you going? What makes the suffering worth it? For me, my relationship with a higher power and my need to help others. I sat there with a gun on the table one time, this was years ago, a long time ago, and the only thing that kept me from shooting myself, from blowing my head off, was the fact that I had 2 dogs. That was it. If those 2 dogs weren't in the room, I would have killed myself. But somebody had to feed them, and I knew that even if they found a different home, that they'd be upset. Because I love my dogs. My dogs loved me. And I was like, man, I got to at least wait until the dogs die before I kill myself. And then, of course, I snapped out of it. Are big goals too risky? Should you avoid dreaming of greatness? Is that wrong? Is it stupid? Because a lot of people are so dead set on failure that they don't want to look to the horizon for a really lofty lofty goal, a really high reaching point, because they're dead set on their failure and they know, well, this is just going to be another letdown. All I'm doing is just setting myself up for yet another disappointment, for another failure. But successful people are risk takers, and you might have to learn how to take risks and chances, and that means you're going to have to learn how to fail, how to handle failure. Very successful people understand failure, and they don't let it get to them. Some of us are so weak. We have a failure, or maybe two failures, and that's it. We're broken. And failure is a lesson. You don't have to look at it as a lesion, as a scar. Look at it as a lesson. Like keeping a book on a shelf. There's a lesson in there. Before you decide that the whole world and everyone in it is against you, go talk to someone who doesn't give a shit about your situation and see what they say. You might just be a bitch on his period. Right? A little self-imposed misery. It's good to have some neutral people around that when you talk to them, they're not going to get all wrapped up in your drama. That's why it's good to talk to somebody who's not in your family and it's not one of your loved ones. It's just somebody you know. And when they listen to you talk about your shit, they don't really have anything invested. And they can look at you completely non-biased and tell you right to your face, well, that's stupid. That's dumb. And you thought it was a big deal. But it's helpful to have people like that. Kind of bring you down from your ledge. You're ready to jump off. And they can be like, dude, that shit's dumb. You're all upset over nothing. How do you transform? Do you do it? You transform yourself? I'm not sure if that's how it works. I've transformed myself, I guess. But then I wonder, did I do it or did God do it? I mean, I had some active role in it. But, you know, you're the person who transforms. The person who's transforming can't also be the transformer. God transforms you, and you just merely follow his way, follow his orders, follow his direction. And that's the way it's been for me. I realize that when I follow my own direction, when I'm the man with the plan, I just lead myself down into hell. I gave up on that, and I told God, this is our relationship. I'll do whatever you say. Whatever you want. But that means you have to do it. Do you see the world as groups or individuals? How do you see the world? Are you an individual? And you're unique? There's no one else like you? Your fingerprints are different? Your mind is different? You look different? Everything. You're uniquely you. And there's not another single person like you. You stand alone. Or do you identify with a group? And you always think about yourself or even introduce yourself as a member of a group. I'm a black, lesbian, veteran, invalid. You know, these are all different groups. Here's some advice. You have an ethical responsibility to make your life as good as it possibly can be. An ethical responsibility. It's morally the right thing to do. You have to do it. You have to do what's right. You can't rescue yourself when you've drowned. Drowning is scary. When you're reaching for something and there's nothing there and the water's not any help. And when you're drowning, it's hard to save yourself. You can't swim up and throw a life preserver over. You literally need help. Someone else has to save you when you're drowning. So I guess it's kind of like life. You can't rescue yourself. Only God can rescue you. Self-help won't work sometimes. Sometimes you're so broken, self-help won't work. The broken person can't mend what's broken. You're too destructive. You're too toxic. You're too fucked up. The only thing that's going to help you is divine help. If the Big Bang Theory is correct, it's just a theory, but if it's correct, just for the sake of argument, let's say that the Big Bang Theory is correct. Then if it's correct, there is no before creation. If the Big Bang Theory is the point, the Big Bang was the point of all creation, when nothingness turned into the everything. The entire universe and all the matter in it came out of this explosion of nothingness. And we often wonder, well, what happened before that? There is no before that. But that doesn't register with us. We still want to know what happened before that. It's like a kid asking where they were before they were born. So something can't come from nothing. That's the weird part about this. How does something, the everything, come from nothing? It makes no sense. Nothing doesn't technically exist. Like even in the void of space, there's still something. Dark matter, antimatter. But there is no real definition of nothing. That's why I think that the Big Bang Theory is primitive. We're somehow missing something, and maybe someday we'll figure it out. It's weird to me, though, how science seems to reject God, but then just come up with a story of creation. The Big Bang Theory to me is very similar to the story of creation. What's more important, change yourself or change the world? I think it's easier to change yourself so you can successfully navigate a hard and difficult world. You're trying to change the world and you say, well, one man can change the world. I doubt it. I don't think it's ever happened to ever. You can only change yourself. Here's a question. Is CRISPR eugenics? You guys know what CRISPR is? Have you been looking into that? You can look into it. CRISPR. CRISPR is genetic editing. So we can have designer babies, and you can make sure that your baby doesn't have any of the recessive genes or the fucked up shit that you or your parents had. Something runs in your family, you could delete that right out and have a perfect little healthy baby. This would be great. We could even have a human race that's genetically superior with no mutations, and have us be stronger, smarter, healthier, live longer, be happier. But we've all thought about this before. Eugenics was a thing. And everybody is terrified of it. Oh, the Nazis. Oh, the Nazis. Master race. Oh, how dare you. And if eugenics existed, I probably wouldn't be around, and maybe some of you would have also been taken out of the gene pool. You wouldn't have even had a chance to be born. So is CRISPR a sin? Because you're fucking with nature. Here's a question, maybe we can end there, getting a little long. I got another 3 pages. Is it possible to become full of consumerism? Is it possible to become full of pleasure seeking? Some people seem to be insatiable when it comes to consumerism, specifically buying things. It's a form of pleasure, it becomes an addiction, and some people can't stop. I mean, you can get full of food, you're going to eat again, but at least you're full of food. There'll get to be a point where you just can't eat anymore, but not with consumerism. The only thing that stops many people with consumerism is their bank account. If you had unlimited money, you might spend all day on Amazon or wherever, eBay, just buying bullshit at the dealership, buying another Ducati. Is that the ultimate dream? Is to be the ultimate consumer? Is that what utopia is? Is just pleasure? Food for thought. Have a good Sunday.